Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Song Theory. Today, we're talking about Diddy. That's right, Diddy, Puff Daddy, Puffy, Diddy the Diddler. All those names are associated with this man, Sean Diddy Combs, because he is now being sued by one of his assistants named Rodney Jones. And Rodney Jones went to the United States Federal Court of Southern District of New York to file this paperwork. And this isn't just random paperwork with random name. No. Rodney Jones came with every single piece of evidence you could possibly imagine. Photos, videos, names. This guy dropped it all. So today we're going to talk about this entire document, but we're going to hit all the highlights. And then we're going to connect some dots to a lot of the songs that people have theorized were about some of the escapades and bad things that Diddy and the rest of his crew have been doing for the last 30 years. So buckle up. This is going to be a very interesting ride. If you're eating something, if you're working, whatever you're doing or driving, just listen on in because this is going to get intense. I thank you all for watching, and let's get started. Okay, so here's the front page of that document. Case 1, 24CV01457, document 1. This was filed, by the way, back in February 26th of this year. So, keep that in mind. This has been cooking for a while. The plaintiff is Rodney Jones, okay? And the defendants, which is, and it's a long list. I did not know all these people were involved. So it's Diddy or Sean Combs, Justin Dior Combs, which is his son, Ethiopia Habith Mariam, Lucian Charles Greenidge, Christine, these last names are crazy, Kuhram, Charlize, Love Records, Motown Records, Universal Music Group, Combs Global Enterprises, some John Does, some Jane Does, and ABC Corporation. This thing is dense, okay? So Rodney Jones is coming up against Diddy and basically his entire operation. And you'll understand why in a second, because this stuff honestly is some of the most disgusting, low down, dirty things I have seen in a long time regarding a case. All right, so, and they did put a trigger warning. That's how bad this is. They said this document contains highly graphic information of a sexual nature, including sexual assault. Additionally, there are graphic images of the aftermath of a shooting, redacted images of sexual intercourse, redacted images of minors, sex workers, and prostitutes, details of sex trafficking, and the illegal distribution of guns and drugs. Just the first page of this document, it tells us that this man is absolutely cooked. Like, I don't really know, a way out of this. This is crazy. So we got the plaintiff, we got all the information, okay? And now this is just some of the information about the parties and the process, what needs to happen. And there will be a jury involved, by the way, because this includes a United States federal RICO case. Keep that in mind. It says it right here. So this is a little information on Rodney Jones. His other name, stage name is Lil Rod. Basically, he's a musical prodigy. He's been doing stuff like gospel music and R&B since he was a teenager, actually, since he was about 13. And then it tells us here that he's considered a music prodigy. He's created so much music, highly acclaimed artists throughout history. He's played with throughout Chicago and Georgia, and also he's played with so many people. This guy is a big deal. From September 2022 to November 2023, Mr. Jones produced 9 songs for Mr. Combs' Love album. Mr. Jones lived with Mr. Combs for months at a time, spending holidays, birthdays, and missing major family events. Mr. Jones resided at Mr. Combs' residence located in Los Angeles, California, New York City, Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones also spent several weeks on a yacht rented by Mr. Combs in the U.S. Virgin Islands, which, by the way, the U.S. Virgin Islands seems to be an important character about places he tends to go, especially when he wants to hide away and do some of his dirt, right? Throughout the time, Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones witnessed, experienced, and endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer on the Love album. The claims raised in this complaint have been corroborated through witness statements, video, audio recordings, and images that Mr. Jones has in his possession. That is basically all we need to know. This isn't like some, rinky-dink, let's put something together. We don't really have a lot of evidence on him. No. Rodney Jones got all the juice. He has all the evidence. He has all the pictures and audio recordings that, of course, a PDF document cannot actually, tell us about. So just in this, page 7? By page 7, we already know that Diddy is done for. Okay? Wait, it gets even crazier. Mr. Jones secured irrefutable evidence of the acquisition and use and distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms. The displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms. I mean, guys, this is oh my God, this is outrageous. So right here, this is evidence that Sean Diddy Combs or his son Justin committed a shooting, okay? So this right here shows us that Mr. Jones has clothing he wore that day and believes it may still have stains of the DNA of G's blood. G, of course, is an unnamed individual who was shot. They don't want to name him on this court document. The following are screenshots of the aftermath of the restroom where G was shot by either Mr. Combs or Justin Combs. God dang, like this is, oh my God. I'm gonna blur this out. I mean, if you want to look at the court document, it is publicly available. You are able to go find it. In fact, you know what? I'll have a link in the description of this video. You can go take a look at it yourself. And it just tells us evidence of the shooting, of what happened, the guns involved, all that stuff. All right. And what's insane from this is as a result of this shooting, Mr. Jones is severely traumatized. Mr. Jones now suffers from PTSD, severe anxiety, depression, and insomnia. And that's not all. Mr. Jones, Rodney Jones, was sexually harassed and assaulted by Diddy. Oh, God. Okay. Throughout the time his living with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was the victim of constant unsolicited and unauthorized groping and touching of his anal area by Mr. Combs. These events took place in LA, New York, Florida, all the places basically that he lived or went with Diddy, and the Virgin Islands. In addition to the unsolicited and unauthorized touching, Mr. Jones was forced by Mr. Combs to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom as Mr. Combs walked around naked and showered in a clear glass enclosure. I mean, they always said Diddy was freaky, but this is bad, man. As a heterosexual Christian man, Mr. Jones was uncomfortable with Mr. Combs' advances and expressed his discomfort to Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Karam, which her name on the document is KK. And so, gosh, it's just so sad. You know, and they talk about victims, right? You talk about victims of assault, victims of sexual crimes. Men go through it as well. And especially when you're in contact with a man of power like Diddy, this is just sad. You know what I mean? And it keeps going. KK also attempted to downplay Mr. Combs' groping of Mr. Jones' anal and genital area as friendly horseplay, stating that those acts were Mr. Combs' way of showing that he likes you. Oh my God. Like, why? And it's the way that they infantilize Diddy, the way they make it seem like, oh, he's just being friendly. Oh, he's just having fun. There's nothing fun or friendly about groping or sexually assaulting somebody. This is outrageous, you know? And it just keeps going. It talks about how Mr. Combs attempted to groom Mr. Jones into engaging in gay sex. So in other words, Diddy was basically like making him have sex and trying to turn him out to be gay. And there are, and please stick around for the rest of the video, because at the end of all this, we're going to talk about how some of his songs connect to the activities that we're looking at on this document. Like, he was telling us the entire time, this is what he's been doing for years, not just to Rodney Jones, but to many other people. Okay, so stay tuned for that. And then it talks here about Stevie J. So this one is interesting. If you don't know who Stevie J is, we'll throw a picture up right here somewhere. Stevie J is an actor, I believe, a musician. He's done a lot. And right here it says Stevie J won a Grammy Award for his work on Puff Daddy's debut album. Like, he's been around with Bad Boys Records for a long time. So Stevie J is like a big time guy, okay? And we can talk about this. Mr. Combs used access to Stevie J and his knowledge of Mr. Jones' admiration of Stevie J to groom and entice Mr. Jones to engage in heterosexuality. To engage in homosexuality. God, that's so sad. And so, like, as Rodney Jones, you know, is you know, enjoying his time being in the big times, right? Being around these huge artists and these people that he loves and knows and admires, you're being groomed to do something you don't want to do with people that you have admiration for. And that's really where the power is. And I tell people all the time, here on Song Theory, people are like, oh, you always talk about how the music industry is evil and how the music industry is satanic and how is, it is, bro. This is not the only case. This is not the only person. The music industry is wrought with, ritualistic craziness, with outrageousness, with people trying to abuse and sexually assault and blackmail. I mean, it's all over the place. We've heard it time and time again. This is not the only time we've heard it. We know the music industry, as well as Hollywood as a whole, is insane. And the fact that people still question that, I hope this case really opens people's eyes, man. It just goes further. Mr. Combs went as far to share a video of Stevie J having anal fun with a Caucasian male without a condom. This was done to ease Mr. Jones' anxiety concerning homosexuality. This is sad, man. And then as I scroll down, you will see a picture here. We're gonna blur it out. This is a picture of Stevie J doing his thing with the white male. And then also, of course, there is documents and information that rappers like Meek Mill is involved in the homosexuality and groping and stuff like that. We know this because we actually see at the bottom here, he is mentioned. He is a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. Not a lot of Philadelphia rappers who dated Nicki Minaj, guys. So you really could have just said Meek Mill, but that's cool, whatever. So to be clear, what's been happening with Mr. Jones this whole time is basically sex trafficking. This entire time, they've been trying to entice him, to grope him, to sexually assault him, and he's been moved back and forth from Miami to New York to California, and the whole time he's being assaulted. This is sex trafficking. Mr. Jones was sex trafficked. It's as simple as that. And it tells us here that Mr. Jones is not the only one to be sex trafficked. In fact, it was a lot of people who were sex trafficked during this time. So it goes even further. All right, so... Oh, God. On page 18 of this document, and mind you, there's 73 pages. Like, this is crazy. Okay. On page 18 of this document, it talks about how the sex trafficking was so bad and the recruitment of sex workers was so bad. They had something, a place, I believe, in Miami called Booty Trap on the River. And Booty Trap on the River was, I'm assuming, is from the document that we're seeing, it was basically like a strip club. And what Diddy would do is get Mr. Jones to wear a Bad Boys Records baseball cap to the club. And this was a signal to any of the sex workers that he is recruiting for sex workers. And so they would basically come to Mr. Jones and they would be driven off in a booty trap van, and then they would go back to Diddy's place compound and do what they were going to do. And it just, oh man. And there are pictures of these women, of course. There's names and there's all types of evidence about who was actually involved in the sex work. And this is where it starts to get really, really bad with regards to minors, okay? Mr. Combs and Jay Combs, which is his son, so Diddy and his son solicits drugs and engages in illicit sex acts with minors and sex workers. So right here it says, on or about July 2nd, 2023 in California, Diddy had a listening party at his home. Present were R&B artists. Some believe this R&B artist is Usher. Jay Combs, which is, of course, Justin Combs, Diddy's son, sex workers, and some underage girls. And long story short, they all have sex and drugs. And, when you look at this, you hear about the assaults that Diddy has committed. You hear about the things that he has done, but reading it out is just it's so disgusting. Like, Mr. Combs forced all the women to drink laced liquor. Upon this information and belief, Mr. Combs laced the liquor with ecstasy. And right here, we have this listening party. We have pictures. We have Mr. Combs with an underage female, another underage female, a sex worker, and Diddy's son with an underage female. So like, there is evidence. There are pictures. This is, I don't know what lawyer could get him out of this. Like, I don't see anything that could be done at this point for Diddy. This man needs to be under the prison. Okay. And it's not just Diddy. Let's keep this in mind. Diddy's son, as well as the others that are connected to all this. And look, it goes even further. Mr. Combs attempts to pass off Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. Here's a picture of Cuba Gooding Jr. If you don't know what he looks like. Okay. Mr. Jones believes that Mr. Combs was grooming him to pass him off to his friends. Oh, this fear became reality when Mr. Combs, or Diddy, introduced Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. while they were on Mr. Combs' yacht. During the introduction, Mr. Combs suggested that Cuba get to know Mr. Jones better. He then left them alone in a makeshift studio on the yacht. As evidenced by a video, which we don't have because this is a PDF, of which screenshots are embedded below, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones' legs, his upper thighs, and near his groin, the small of his back, and near his buttocks and his shoulders. Oh my God. You know what's sad too is that, you know, Cuba Gooding Jr. has been going through a whole lot of craziness lately. He's been accused of sexual assault by other women and all this stuff. And now to see that it just really continues the story of so many Hollywood elites, so many artists and actors, and it just keeps going and going and going. This is so unfortunate, man. Mr. Jones was extremely uncomfortable, obviously, and proceeded to lean away from Mr. Gooding Jr. He rejected his advances, and he said no. And, you know, this goes back to what we're talking about when it comes to the Hollywood elites, man. When it comes to what they do, how they get down. You know, people laugh about that interview that Cat Williams did on Club Shay Shay when he talked about Diddy, and he talked about, you know, hey, you just got to say no. You just got to tell him, no, I'm not willing to do this, blah, blah, blah. You got to stand up for yourself, all this stuff. But we see how when you get like really deep into it, saying no could be dangerous. Saying no could destroy your livelihood, which is how the power dynamic works in these situations. You are talking to people who are elites. Cuba Gooding Jr., although he hasn't done a lot of movies lately, is an elite. Diddy is an elite. Like, you saying no to these people, I mean, that by itself is dangerous, right? I mean, look at this. There's a screenshot here. A screenshot of him getting touched. It's right here. I mean, like, oh, God. And then here's exactly what I'm talking about. Mr. Combs used his power and influence to threaten and intimidate Mr. Jones. So for those of you out there who are like, oh, just say no. All you got to do is get away from him. All you got to do is, no, that's not how that works, man. Once you're in it, you start having threats like this. According to Mr. Jones, Diddy is very forceful and demanding, right? Diddy does not take no for an answer and would often threaten to inflict bodily harm on Mr. Jones if Jones did not comply with his demands. I mean, this is even crazier. As detailed above, Mr. Combs threatened to eat Mr. Jones' face. Threatened to eat his face. You know, you can't get crazier than that. You know what I mean? And so when people, oh, just say no to Diddy. No, you keep this in mind. Mr. Jones saw Diddy shoot somebody. Saw Diddy's son shoot somebody. You really think you're going to watch this man really pull the trigger on somebody and think you could just say no to them? That's not how that works. And then, of course, we have documents that go as far back as 1999 talking about Diddy and some of the crazy stuff that he's done alongside Jennifer Lopez and other individuals who we all know. We know these people. We know who they are. We know their faces, and that's what makes it so scary. It's not like we're talking about people that we have never heard of. These are people that we have admired over decades. They've made money off of us. We've given them our time and our treasures. You know what I mean? Like, this is what has happened. And the amount of money we've been putting in these people's pockets, this is what they've been doing with it. And now here's where it gets crazy, crazier. So defendant Christina Karam, they compared her to Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Like, basically they were saying the same way Ghislaine Maxwell helped Jeffrey Epstein to, you know, collude and to assault little girls is the same way Christina Karam did for Sean Combs, for Diddy. And that kind of comparison is like, you can't get away from that. Just being on the same court document as Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, you're done, bro. Like, it's over. I don't know how. I can't see a lawyer. I mean, they have to. I mean, obviously, it's your legal right to have legal counsel. But, like, who would want to touch this, man? This is bad. Like, oh, yeah. And then we get into the pink cocaine that apparently pink ecstasy and cocaine that was being sold throughout the compound of Diddy and the rest of his conspirators, and not to mention the ketamine. Oh my God. Like, and then it tells us right here, you know, basically who is going to be part of this RICO enterprise? Who are we looking at? And basically it's Stevie J, who recruited sex workers and attended participants in freak-offs, which sounds disgusting. Justin Combs, which is Diddy's, son, solicits prostitution, underage girls, and sex workers would engage in freak-offs. And there's a guy named Brandon Paul who works for Mr. Combs as a mule. And I think we actually talked about Brandon Paul because he was arrested recently. And we'll put a picture of him over here. He was arrested recently. And yeah, I mean, they got the guy. They already got him on drugs and guns. So all of Diddy's like participants have been locked up, or at least they're under arrest at this point, because they are going hard on this guy. Like, they are not, they're not giving it up. They're going to make sure they take him down. So then we get to the first cause of action. We're going to go ahead and knock him with a RICO enterprise. And they're talking about it here, right? The conduct and participate in a RICO enterprise through the pattern of racketeering activity, violation of Racketeer Influence and Corruption Organization Act. I mean, they're getting everybody. They got people from Universal Music Group. They got people from Love Records, Motown Records. I mean, Combs Global. This is a massive lawsuit. I mean, there is, without a doubt, this is probably the biggest music-related lawsuit we have ever seen. This has to be, I mean, it's so widespread. There's so much going on this lawsuit, and it's against so many people, and this is outrageous. Now, don't take my word for it. Everything you need to see, the complaints, the documents are all in the description below. Click the link. You can read all of this for yourself. It's there. And on this part of the video, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the songs and lyrics that have been sung and written by Diddy and some of his co-conspirators over the years to see how all of this connects through the music, okay? Okay, so now let's talk about some of the worst lyrics that have come from Bad Boys Records, because again, you're talking about Biggie, you're talking about Puff Daddy or Diddy, you're talking about Jay-Z. All of these guys were part of the same conglomerate, right? So whatever they were saying, we're now looking at through a different lens, because we know, I mean, we knew back then, but now we really know all the crazy stuff that Diddy has been getting up to and all the people that have been helping him do it. So now let's look at these lyrics again, and I love how they say it's been 20 years, but these lines are timeless. Yeah, they sure are, right? They sure are. So we're going to see just how timeless these lyrics are. And we're going to see how crazy it is that they line up with what's going on. Let's start with the first line. You heard of us, the murderers, the most shady, been on the low lately, and the feds hate me. I mean, you can't tell me that's not crazy, right? Like, what's insane to me is even Biggie, man, like, they've been talking about this for years. And it's like looking at it through this lens, looking at it through the lens of forced sexual encounters and minors and drugs. Like, we know that rappers get crazy. We know that rappers have been kind of doing the drugs and stuff for a long time, but you never really connect the dots to, like, illegal sex trafficking and like being a terror to somebody. It's just so sad. It's unfortunate. But a lot of these lyrics point to exactly what we've been talking about. So check this out, all right? Oh, wait. And then let's talk about his song, Don't Stop Doing What You're Doing. This is a line that Diddy himself said, okay? He said, everybody's eating, everybody's involved. You can't stop that like you can't stop rap. Bad boys stop, what's the chance of that? Oh my God. He's telling us everybody's involved. Every single body is involved. There's not a single person at Bad Boy. There's not a single person who's associated with this guy that is not involved. This is insane. And of course, here's more bars about Biggie selling drugs for Diddy. I mean, it's right here. Flipped 2 keys in 2 weeks, didn't flaunt it. I mean, they're telling us over and over again. Oh, and I think this one is so fitting to what's happening. Can't nobody take my pride. Can't nobody hold me down. Oh no, I got to keep moving. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Because at this point, you know who's trying to hold you down? The federal government. Oh, but wait, it gets crazier. Now let's look at some of the music videos that Diddy has made in the past that connects to all this stuff. In fact, there's one in particular that I think you have to see. So this is from his music video, Been Around the World, and this is him, Diddy, and a guy named Mace and Biggie somewhere in the video. But check this part out of the video. This was hilarious, okay? Just... So what did we just see? That was the feds chasing Diddy. That's what you just saw. These black cars right here, these are supposed to represent the Fed. And there he is hopping on his private jet to get away from the federal government. And honestly, man, 1997, it's like he already knew what was going to happen. It's like he was predicting the future. Because here we are now. He ran away on his private jet to go to the Caribbean to get away from the federal government. And honestly, man, it's all full circle moment. So, I mean, at this point, it's official. Diddy is going down forever. There's no hope for him. You know, we saw the court documents. We read through what this man did. We saw the music videos. We saw how people have theorized for decades that this man has been talking about this, boasting about his activities, boasting about the drugs and the sex and the illegal activities and the trafficking. He's been doing it for years and years, and as well as his co-conspirators, as well as people from different organizations and businesses like Motown and Universal Music Group, and some of the artists that he signed like Biggie. And I'm sure it goes even deeper than that because it always does. So we have to stay tuned to see what happens next. But who knows? At this point, I think he'll be caught, and then we get to see all this play out on live television, which is probably going to be even bigger than any other live television broadcast of a court case we've ever seen. So we'll have to see what happens.